Okay. So yes, hello everyone again. Hope you are all excited about today's topic, which is the future-proof ERP strategy, right? And before we start, let me just give a quick introduction about myself. So I'm Anil Lakhan. I'm a chief certified architect with Capgemini, and besides that, I am a master architect from Open Group and CPIM, PMP, ITIL, all other credentials. So uh, currently, I am working as in the uh, Center of Excellence for the package-based solution division of Capgemini. Okay. Uh, Past 2 decades, so almost 25 plus years now, I have worked across all the areas in the ERP, cloud, digital transformation, right from conception or strategy up to delivery and operation management. Okay, and it is across the geographies, across the industries, and across multiple sectors of the organization. Okay, so what I will be doing is I will be covering it is a broad topic, right? Okay, so I will be covering this topic in first 45 minutes. I'm sure it will address all your questions, concerns about the ERP topic, and I'll keep the last 15 minutes to review any further questions that you may have. Okay. All right, so let's begin the journey. So here is the agenda. Okay, what I'm planning to cover is the base or the source of ERP. Okay, and how it is impacting or how it has evolved with the current wave of digital transformation. Okay, uh, what is the or what are the constraints with the traditional monolithic ERP? How we try to address these challenges as what we call as a strategy, right? How the ERP vendors are taking care of it, and how the system integrators are making sure to implement it. Okay. Uh, so first is what is ERP? Okay, I think most of you are aware. Okay, you can see the definition. This definition is from the APIX, that is the American Production Inventory Control System, right? Which the governing body for most of the supply chain standards, right? But let me simplify it. Okay, so ERP is an extensive the process that organization deal with, right? It start from either from procurement up to the payment, okay, or from the order to the cash, or the financials, okay, or the manufacturing. So it has a set of broad as well as the deep processes what organization deal with. Okay. Uh, it is also I can call as a data set or the in extensive data bank of information, okay, which include the master data like the customer, supplier, finance, okay, as well as the transaction data. And what it gives an information that enable the organization for the decisions what they have to take. Okay. If you look at the current market, these are I don't say top, but they are the most popular or most common ERP vendors, like right from SAP, Oracle, Workday, Microsoft, all of this, right? You must have heard some of this, and you can see some of these players or most of these players are very global players in the market. Okay. Now, what what is impacting and why we are talking about it, right? So if you see, there is a wave of digital transformation, right? So what is the wave? What we are talking about? So there is, with the advancement of so many breakthrough technologies. So either you talk about artificial intelligence, machine learning, IoT, right? All the digital ecosystem. Okay. So all this is definitely causing the organization to reimagine what they are doing now, right? They can't do or continue what they are doing traditionally. Okay, so look at MIT, what they are saying about the digital ecosystem and what is the impact in terms of the percentage or the impact of artificial intelligence on the supply chains from the research and market, or the impact of machine learning on the automation from SAP, right? So all these from the digital transformation wave, if you look at which are the key drivers, okay, uh, there is definitely the rise of the individual. So what does that mean is now we see a growing demand or growing expectation from the customer that they are looking at the very personalized experience, right? So you can, by the way you shop now compared to sometime in the past, right? You are definitely demanding now, right? The same thing is happening here. And what does that mean is the way of communication, like it is through mobile apps or embedded software, are very critical now, okay, for making that experience or making that personalized experience. Okay, it is also the collective wisdom of the ecosystem now. So it is not like silos that you can look for now, right? Uh, the other important part and very important part is the data, right? Because data is the new oil, and if you see, what ERP has to give is the information for their stakeholder, their management, right? And for making the right decision for their organization. And that definitely need the real-time availability of data. And right? I think there are so many sources of data and it's growing tremendously, right? So to extract the data, to evaluate the data, right? You definitely need a lot of ecosystem to be functioning properly. Okay, and to support this, you also need the massive infrastructure, right? So that is by way of what we call as consumerization of IT or like cloud computing, what you must have heard typically, right? Or even the microservices that can give the scalability. Okay. So having seen these drivers, what this digital transformation wave is bringing, okay. So let's look at what is or how prepared our ERP vendors are, right? The product vendors. Okay. So if you look at like the history or the background of the ERP, okay, it started from like the earlier world of MRP into 1960s, right? Like it at that time it was material requirement planning. Then it got evolved into manufacturing resource planning, right? And then it became the enterprise resource planning. Okay, so it is getting evolved by each stage of transformation. Okay, and by 90s or 2000, it become extended ERP. So what does that mean is now it is more cohesive. So earlier it started with just focus on the manufacturing. Now it added the other like the sales, the purchase, right? The other areas, and even the extension. It added the like even much more external. So like customer relationship management, supplier relationship management, advanced planning, right? All those it cohesively become an extended ERP. But now it is we call as the future ERP. Okay, it is still beyond like what we are calling is the the personalized experience what customer is looking for. At the same time, they want the bigger piece of all the organizational processes, right? The purchase, sale, logistics, the finance, manufacturing. But at the same time, they want broad as well as the depth of the processes. Okay. So earlier world was more monolithic. It was more centralized, right? Depending on the one vendor concept, right? So now we have to look for like we call as the multiple architectures, right? Or the post-modern ERP era. Okay, so which should give both the flexibility as well as the scalability, right? So if you look at this traditional ERPs, okay, so what kind of constraints they have? So one was definitely the poor integration, okay, so because they were not able to talk or integrate with the other applications, right? And so you can imagine, for example, let's take the example of Flipkart, right? If the omni-channel front end of the Flipkart, or even to that extent the Walmart, right, which is much more global and much more diverse, right? If the omni-channel front end of these retailers is not able to connect to the back-end inventory system, you can imagine they will be lost, right? The second is like the flawed decisions. Like if you don't have the accurate or the complete data, so let's look at the procurement department. Okay, if they have to make a decision for the sourcing, they have to have their sourcing systems connected to the downstream applications, right? In terms of assessing risk, in terms of evaluating the onboarding of the suppliers, right? There is also the constraint with the traditional ERP about the cost and the risk, like as there will multiple ERP vendors, what we are seeing, like or multiple providers, what you can see, right? And that is difficult to manage nowadays with the traditional ERP. Okay. The one important factor is about the industry functionality. So what does that mean? So every industry has a specific functionality. Okay, so it is. Let's take an example of oil and gas, like the British Petroleum or Total, right? So what they are looking for is the upstream or the downstream processes as compared to maybe a retailer, what we just talked about, Flipkart and the others, right? These guys or these retailers, they are looking for example, the in-store monitoring capability, right? Or the real-time in-store monitoring. Okay, so if you see the variations, like, and they are very industry specific. So the current traditional ERP, they have this availability very limited in terms of the functionality, right? And then there is the over dependence on just one vendor. So for example, if an organization decide to give everything to like one vendor is right, but there are again the drawbacks, right? So what are the drawbacks? You try to have the limitation, or you will get into the limitation of this vendor, if it is not keeping up with the market, right, then your entire business is at the jeopardy of this vendor, right? As well as you will have the challenges in terms of negotiation because it is just one. Okay, so how should we address these challenges? Okay, so what we typically do, and we call that as a make it anti fragile. Okay, this is a concept which was tossed by. You can look at this book from Nassim Nicola Taleb. It's an interesting concept of anti-fragile. Okay, so what do you mean by fragile? The fragile which breaks, right, with the stress. Okay, and what do you mean by robust? You know, right? It remains same. But when you mention anti-fragile, so what does that mean? That it improves with stress, and we have to have the ERP strategy similar to this. Okay, so what we have tried here, we have tried to extract the key concepts of this anti-fragility. Okay, so what are the key concepts? So it is one is definitely we have to ensure the future options. Okay, that ERP can cater to. Second, we have to design not for the failure, but how can it recover? How can it recover faster? Right. Third is we have to stress this with a lot of variations so that it can stand for multiple failures and stand up, right? And then the fourth one, how do you distribute the risk with the ecosystem rather than having the silos? Okay, so what does this mean? I mean, this concept, if we try to apply to an ERP, what does this mean? So it means, so the first one, like how do you ensure the future options is nothing but having the open APIs. So you know APIs, right? The application programming interfaces, right? So if you have your ERP and with having a rich set of open set of APIs, it can talk very easily to the extended functionalities, right? And that's the advantage of it. Second is a design for recovery. So how do you do it? If you look at ERP, there are different forms depending on the usage. Okay, the most common form is the on-premise, what we typically see. But the one which is gaining popularity is the SaaS or software as a service model, right? Or in you if just want to gain the cost advantage, then you go for IaaS or infrastructure as a service, right? So when you are designing, your focus is on design for recovery, then you definitely move towards cloud aspect of it. Okay, and that's why you should move toward the IaaS or the SaaS part of the ERP. Okay. The third, what we mention is the concept of anti-fragility is the stressing the system, right? So, and you can do it in multiple ways. Actually, this Chaos Monkey was introduced by Netflix, right? For it was for the testing the resiliency and recoverability of their AWS services. So you can actually use such thing for stressing the system, right? And the fourth one, what we mentioned, right? It is the microservices. Like, so that mean how you can make it scalable. Okay. And that is don't extend the package internally. So what does it mean? You get when you get the package from the ERP vendor, don't try to customize to such an extent that it will be difficult to maintain operationally, right? Rather, you extend it externally, and the way to do it is to the microservices. Okay, so after we apply these concepts of anti-fragility, right? So that will definitely now give us as a strategy for moving towards an ecosystem of the ERP. Okay, and what is an ecosystem? So ecosystem is nothing but it is typically segregated into three broad buckets. Okay, the core ERP functionality, the extended application, and the integrated solutions. Okay, those of you who may be knowing the Gartner's space layered architecture, right? So what does it say is the it has like three systems what it proposed for an organization. Like one is system of record, like the one where you do all your transaction, no, the sales order, purchase order, invoices, okay, all those things. Then you should have a system of innovation. So what does that mean? It will give you an added advantage over your competitors. Okay, and then the third is the system of differentiation. So what does that mean is it it will give you the leverage the capabilities to the full extent, Okay, so it is similar concept what we are trying to see it here. Okay, how we should build your ERP ecosystem. So you should keep your core. Okay, we call typically as a core, or in the digital transformation world, it is digital core, right? So core is a set of standard, okay, and the limited set of processes, okay, or the functions. What do? You just keep all open APIs around it so that it can extend very easily. Okay. The second part is there are some specific functions or the standalone application. Your standard ERP may not be able to give, right? That added things. So what do? You actually have this application natively integrated, okay, into the back to the uh, core ERP functionalities. Okay, and that can be deployed through PaaS or SaaS. So software as a service is a good example for getting this very quickly. Yeah? And the third part is the integrated solutions. Okay, so what does that mean? Is you should give rapidly all the latest and greatest. Okay, so for example, you now implemented some version of an ERP. Okay, and now you see, let's take about the COVID situation. Okay, it is definitely demanding the business to reimagine the way what they're doing, right? So in that case, there is a change in the functionality, change in the features. Okay, in that case, if your ERP is adopting it, okay, so how fast that can be implemented for you? Okay, and that is possible if your architecture is based on the microservices or more scalable, right? Let's look at one example. Okay, maybe of one of the ERP. We looked at a couple of ERPs like the SAP, Oracle, Microsoft. Okay, so if you look at, maybe take example of SAP. Okay, SAP, the earlier world, like it called as R2 or R3, and then it moved to the enterprise core component or ECC. Okay, this is still the old world. Okay, and there were a lot of issues in this old world in terms of the bespoke applications, right? It had issues for integration. Okay, any rework, the retrofitting, it was it was painful. It was costing, right, more compared to the flexibility what they were expecting. It had lot of impact in terms of the decision support, right, on this old way of doing. So now what they did, they they call it intelligent enterprise, which is based on S4 HANA. Okay, uh, which is uh, which is more the concept what we saw, like the digital ecosystem, right? The central core system, and then the integrated application around it. Okay, and the way they are doing, if you look at like the Gartner, right? What they are saying is all these ERP vendors, okay, they are slowly moving. They are no more a technology platform now, right? They are slowly moving to become like a business platform provider. Okay, and this is what you can see the example of SAP here. So they have now the digital core. Okay, so what the digital core is doing, it has all the ready core processes which are ready to use. Okay, which has integrated the supply chain. It is giving the individual experience, okay, what we were looking for by way of this digital transformation, right? And it is, I mean, it's called as Fury apps now. So it's a way of usage for the end user or the customers, giving the individualized experience, right? It have built the platform which is giving the ease of flexibility. Okay, I mean through their they call it CPI, okay, or cloud platform integration. Very easy to connect to any of the other softwares or applications. Like switching on off is very easy, right? Also, they have applied the microservices. Okay, so what does that mean? So, for example, they have the releases. So right now the release is S4 HANA release 1809. Okay, so they are already planning now the release which is more yearly. Okay, like 1909. Okay, so these releases are very easy to switch because of this microservices based architecture what they have in place with this new model or with this new evolution of this ERP. Okay. Uh, if now let's see if the ERPs are changing, right? So ERPs have evolved, taking care of this transformation wave. Okay. So is that sufficient? No, because each customer is different. You know, as per our Bhagavad Gita, right? Change is constant, and this is what our customers are. Okay, so some of the customers are in the place that when should I move to the new platform? Okay, that's because I already did a lot of investment and the time in upgrading my previous version. Now you are telling me this is the better version. Okay, how much time and cost it will need, right? When is the right time? Because my financial year closing is coming very soon, which I cannot give have any impact on it because of this change, right? What are the benefits of moving to this? So, for example, if you're talking me about S/4HANA, or if you're talking about me Oracle Financials, right, or Workday Human Resource, okay. So, i- what can you specify the or quantify the benefits so that I can have a business case which I can present to my management, right, to get their commitment in terms of the investment that is needed, right? Some customers are like, I have a very complex landscape, and it is very true because I can give you one example. Right now, I am working with one large consumer good customer. They are transforming across 9 countries. Okay, and it is interesting. There's all the countries are having a different version of the ERP. Okay, and what do they target? What they are targeting to go for a single instance. Okay, that can be used by all the countries. So you can imagine what kind of simplification, standardization needed, right? And each country is at a different stage, right? So then the question is, where should I start? Should I start with the low-hanging fruit like the maybe the East European countries, or should I start with maybe the Central Europe, like the one which are having the bigger volume and transactions? Okay, and their questions are right. Okay, uh, the other question we typically get, is this ERP right for me? Okay, so I have my business is purely focused on services. So is this XERP? Is this right for me? Or can I use the one what I already have and have some integrated application? Okay. Do I have to think my IT strategy? I have already a strategy in place which is catering to my next 3 years. Okay. Now you are telling me these are the changes required for the ERP. Okay. So does that mean the strategy which is already in place, it will have an impact or significant impact to that strategy? Okay. So there is no single answer for all those questions, right? But what do we have is we can have the principles, right? The design principles, what you can follow as part of the strategy. Okay, so since your ERP vendors are already molding their product, okay, so what do we need is because your customer is now different, each customer is different and it is at a different stage, right? So I need to now tailor all those ERPs as as per their requirement. So tailor is not the product, the tailor in terms of as per their need. How do I fit that the core extended part, right? How do we keep the loosely coupled so that I don't customize the core to such an extent. Okay, so what are the design principles? Okay, and they are across. When you talk about ERP, because first of all, we have to keep in mind, ERP is not just a project that you start something now and okay, you in next 6 months you expect like the product implementation done. Okay, it is a journey. Okay, there are changes which we have to plan over the period. Okay, so you have to look at the principles. Okay, so there are best practices. There are best practices in terms of the processes. So, for example, the supply chain processes, as I mentioned, you can look at the Apex for the supply chain processes. There are industry solutions, okay, which you should look at what is the best industry solutions available, okay, and if that is getting available as pre-configured solution, okay, so the one like the integrators who are coming and helping you for implementing this ERP are do they have some kind of accelerators, right, or the pre-configured solutions that can help you accelerate your journey quickly. Okay, when we are talking about ERP, you also need to consider the data as which is the new oil, right? So you definitely have lot of applications, lot of data flowing in your current landscape, right? And what do you do with that data? Okay, so you have to migrate that data. You have to extract those from the different sources. You have to cleanse it, profiles it, right? And you then plan the loading into the target new system, right? So that itself is a massive work, huh? Because you need to have the data model defined for into based on the target business model. Okay, there is also a fact about the integration. Okay, so you have to look for the principles that can suit for your organization. Okay, um, so you may have a lot of applications already. So either you have a suite of Microsoft-based application, Oracle-based application, right? All those. So you should also have the principles behind those different partners with your ERP, what they are planning, right? You should also think about the process integration, right? Look at, for example, the procurement processes, right? If you see the procurement processes is like the purchase requisition, purchase order, invoice, and payment to the supplier, right? But there are, if you go now depth, so there are supplier invoices, right? If you look at the supplier invoices, right? So how do you integrate those invoices into your core ERP? Okay. If you look at your manufacturing, okay. So when you record the stock of your different product, how do you do it faster? Okay, so that integration aspect is very important. And then how do you get the reporting that is both the tactical as well as the strategic, right? So and how do you get it faster? I still remember the older ways when we used to run the process chains, right? We used to call for the business warehouse, and the team doing it, it used to run, I mean, keep it running. They not doing it, were not doing it personally, but kept it on the batch mode or process chain over the night because it was taking so much of time. And then this poor stakeholder who are decision maker, they have to wait till the next morning when the process will complete and when they can make the meaning out of it and then take a decision which is beneficial for their organization. So that has to change now. So that is why you have to have an approach for embedded analytics, right? You should also have the talk about the integration, okay, with the the data lake or how to get the business intelligence part of it. It's not just the reporting, like which is like one-off output or the outcome, right? But it's more the intelligence at every stage of the decision, how you can get it from my ERP. Okay, there's also an important part of the security. Okay, so how when when you are implementing, how you still keep the segregation of duties, okay, between the different stakeholder, between the different users of the system, right? How do you make sure the authorization? So, for example, if it is human resource, right? So you can how sensitive the data of the personal data, right? So in terms of like the bank information or the personal information, right? For example, the date of joining, even the payroll related information, how do you secure that kind of data? Okay, so you should have also have the principles behind it. And then the change management aspect, which in my opinion is outlook normally. I mean, it is not paid much attention, but which is the most important part. Okay, because you have to consider your user because they are the one who's going through the change. They are doing something now in the way they are comfortable, and you are coming and telling them that this is the new world, better world, and how will they change, right? So the change management aspect, okay, and having talked about the change management, you have to talk about the change mindsets. Okay, so there are definitely guiding principles. So first of all those ERPs, like the strategy behind implementing, is as I mentioned, it's not a project, right? It's a journey. So how do you plan your journey? You you do a good amount of planning, right? So you plan the change, and then you execute. You execute progressively, steadily, right? For planning the change, who are your the real user, the user who are using the system now, right? So what do? You get them involved, right? And to get them involved, you need a commitment from their supervisors, from their the top management, right? So you need the sponsorship, okay, to motivate these users, right? You need to empower them. It's not just the inspiring, right? It's not just the motivating. Okay, so you need to empower them by how do you do that? You remove the obstacle, right? So typically, it is no more now IT centric. By the way, the ERP implementation. It is the IT plus the business hand in hand. Because even when we are now forming, we call as a blueprint, right, which is the major piece of the implementation. It is more or always driven by the business. So we get the people who are the leads in their processes, and they are the lead of the streams. Okay, like procurement stream or finance stream in the implementation, and they along with the technology subject matter experts are driving that each stream in the implementation, right? So you have to develop a very systematic and a comprehensive plan, okay, so that you can consider. So you get them involved, okay, you get them uh, recognize like what is in it for them and what are the benefits, right? And then finally you you make them skill, right? So you try by how do you make them skill? By way of training, right? And how do you make it sophisticated? By having a role-based training as per their own role, right? So in the procurement itself, there will be three different kind of role, right? So you cannot give the same training to the one who is keying the purchase order same as the one who is doing the sourcing decisions, right? So you have to have the training which are very specific to the role, right? So you have to make this as the change readiness. Okay, so and this is the key part of the ERP implementation, right? So it is not just that ERPs are evolving. Okay, you are applying all those principles, right? Definitely, but you have to remember this is a big change, big change, right, for the organization. So managing that is a big task. Okay. I think I'm coming to the closure. So let me do like a quick recap, okay, of so that I can keep a good amount of time for any further questions that you may have. Okay, so let's take the key takeaways. Okay, so what did we see? Why we are talking about a topic, right? It is because we are seeing the wave of transformation, right? The digital transformation, okay, which has the key drivers, what we saw, right? The five key drivers, okay, and these key drivers is is requiring or demanding a new approach to the ERP. Okay, so that is why the ERPs are evolving towards like the multiple architecture. It is looking at the broad as well as the granular processes that the organization is looking for, right? And how do we uh, think we were addressing it? So you remember the concepts. Anti-fragile, right? So anti-fragile concepts, right? So to develop the future-proof and the agile architecture, right? So you remember the open APIs, the microservices, okay? And by doing this, by applying this concept, finally where we are heading towards an ecosystem, right? Which is the core, which is the set of standard limited, and then a platform around it which can extend it, which can make it the releases very easily, making the new functionality available quickly, right, to you, to your organization, right? And how do we do this? Because the each customer is different, right? So you have to apply the design principles, okay, to move toward that end goal of the ecosystem of ERP. Okay, so you remember some of the principles, right, in terms of either it is data or integration or industry specific functionality or security, right? And the most important is the change management, right? So you have to have or plan for the change mindset, okay, and that is the biggest piece of getting this puzzle solved, right, and getting your end user involved, inspire them, empower them, and get them skilled enough, okay, to make this as a successful journey. Okay, uh, let me let me stop it here because it's already the time. Okay, so Thank you for listening me. You can if you have questions, I will take the questions now definitely. But if you have the questions, you can still write to me at this address. I have also have this QR code of my LinkedIn. So if you want to connect for any further questions, feel free to do so. Okay, I'm always eager with all the creative questions what come to me. Okay, so let me look at uh, the questions that you have. Okay, okay, so there are I think the questions is nice topic. Okay, is okay, accept my questions. Okay, okay. There is one question. Which type of operating system is useful in the AI? Okay, it varies to the question of Deep. Okay, it the OS it because the operating system it depends on multiple factors because the right now I can see all the OSs are equally competitive. Okay, so it goes the decision based on what your customer has already invested in. Okay, so it is a Windows platform what they already have, or it is the Oracle suite. Okay, so it all depends, but in terms of specific to AI, I see there is I mean all the OSs are equally competitive. There is nothing differentiating just for the artificial intelligence as such. Okay, um, there are questions in about the career options. I think that's a very good question, Monica. See, there are good. Okay, so I'll look at the options what you have. Okay, so one is definitely if we talk about the product, okay, the ERP. So definitely there are so many ERP vendors, and as you can see, every vendor, every ERP is trying to evolve. Okay, so they are what that evolve mean? They are changing their product, right? And they in that case they definitely need people like you, which are smart, who are intelligent, who are eager to work, right? So one career option is terms of development. Like you can be if you are a good developer, you can join this ERP vendors in terms of joining their product development team, right? In terms of supporting them for their changes, what they're looking for. Okay. Other option is in terms of the system integrator. So, for example, if you are looking for how to implement this ERP, right? And that's the way of applying those design principles, right? So either it can be the consulting part of it, like is more the advisory skills, or the implementing. So it is more specific to that ERP. So you can go into either the SAP or Oracle or Microsoft or whichever, okay, the area and get that expertise. Okay. Uh, and the third part is in terms of the architecture. So you can be if you are more technology oriented, okay, then you can be more into the architecture aspect of it. So how do you integrate, right? How do you apply the micro services, right? So all those are the different areas what I can see, and there are many ways. I mean, because as you are seeing this, the world is evolving. So as I mentioned, COVID situation itself. So it may generate even new forms of the career options. Okay, there's a question also from Chandrasekaran. Yes, what are the four basics in ERP? I'm not sure about if I understand the question correctly. But basics is nothing but you mean the enterprise resource planning. Okay, so how I think you have seen the definition what I shared, and hopefully because this question was earlier, so must have answered by now, right? But it is the basics is getting first of all your organization with all the processes, right, what they need, and then uh, how do you implement those processes in a very integrated, cohesive way, right? So that can help the organization for the decision making. Okay. There is also a question on, okay, excellent and highly information. Okay. Okay. Where can I learn about ERP effectively on a personal basis? Yes. Okay. So this is a very good question, Pranav. So what happened actually is all those ERPs, because you know they need smart people like you, right? So what they are also doing, they are making this as an open source. Okay, so you can, I'll go back to the example of SAP. So you can look at Open SAP. Okay, what they have done is like a university kind of format, which where you can see a lot of information available. First, on the concepts, what this product is applying, and second, in terms of the feature, what they are developing, and they are all free, by the way. So, and even what it's very interesting, they are also getting make it is more professional. That is, they are making it as more feel like academic. So there are you have to prepare some homework, you have to prepare some exams, right? And they will give accredit that okay, these you are skilled in this, and this can be helpful for the career option, like someone was asking earlier, right? For that, because as you are just coming out of the college, you definitely are lacking the experience working, right? So then such kind of the accreditation of learning will definitely help. Okay. Uh, on the yeah, the Devdarshini, yes, I think the fragile concept. Okay, so this is we as a Capgemini, we have tried to adopt this. Okay, so different organizations are following differently. Okay, and you have seen like the four different ways what we are trying to adapt these concepts, right? But the key part is you see that you have to make this ERP implementation such that it is more a continuous improvement, right? Rather than making something like a point to point integration, right? So you have to keep it like the core, and then you keep a loosely couple around it, okay? So that it is very easy to grow for you, that the ERP features, and as well definitely for the organizations who are looking for the better features or better the functions, or even they are evolving, like there are acquisition, there are mergers, right? All kind impacts definitely the technology aspect, right? Or the systems what they are currently having, correct? There is question from Abhinash. Okay, the some architecture ERP. Uh, okay, so see, Avinash, for the ERP architecture, so I can tell you about what we follow. We call as the MPSA, or multi-pillar S4 HANA architecture, specific for SAP. Okay, so what it does is it it first lay the all the pillars. Okay, so what are the different pillars of your ERP implementation, right? So you and these pillars are definitely in terms of around. I mean, you don't change the core, right? And for the integrating around, you are looking for the spokes, right? Or the integration. So either it is a side by side extension, or okay, or the extension which is native, right? So these are the different. So we have kind of a different use cases what we use to follow the patterns of this integration architecture. Okay, and then it is like three-step approach what we follow as a part of the architecture. Uh, okay, is there how COVID situation is impacting ERP? Yes. Okay. So you see, Prashant, this is right now the what we are doing, because this is the impact of COVID. Because what we are doing is now most of the people are still remote, right? And they are working remotely, but still addressing the same demand, right? What they were used to do, which is not easy, right? And it is placing lot of pressure on the infrastructure, right? So the way I see the impact, I think the ERPs, the way they are coming to the market is changing, right? So it is they are more focused on the cost aspect of it, right? Because earlier the focus was more on the innovation. Now because of the COVID situation, because of the financial impact, right? So there is focus more on how do we optimize the costs, correct? So you see that's a change in terms of now the project KPIs, the key performance indicators also, right? So those alls are definitely impacting the way, I mean, you can call as a COVID impact, but it's a cascaded impact of the COVID, because there is a direct impact, and there is the impact for the future, right? Because it's definitely changing the way the business is getting done, right? Uh, I think I address most of the questions. So I'm really grateful for first IIT Madras for such a broad and extensive platform for providing to us, and definitely for the students to connect. Okay, so I call this as also a journey. So let's keep this journey. Okay, so feel free to connect with me. Feel free to write the questions. Okay, and feel free to bother me at any point of time, because I like questions. I like challenges. Okay, so thank you very much for taking time. Thank you for all the efforts, and the good luck with whichever the area of interest or the career options what you are heading to. Uh, in case you are deciding for ERP, and if you need some advice or see the challenge, then definitely connect with me. Thank you and stay safe.